Yep.
Okay. There she is. Okay. We're all in. And I think we're ready to rock and roll.
Hey!
Hello. Okay. Sorry about that. Looks like we dropped the stream there for a moment, but we're back on. It's gone a lot longer than expected, so I think Jeremy, we're going to say goodbye to Jeremy pretty quick here, but you had a question there that I quickly want to answer. Just one sec. Come on in. That's funny. I had to let Canada Post in to do their deliveries. What was your? So I lost you when you said I hate to interrupt as I was about to make this, and then you were just going to ask me a question.
Yes.
Do you want to ask that question one more time for our viewers, and then we'll answer it, and then we'll say goodbye to Jeremy? Just got to go here pretty quick.
Yes. I was just curious about. Actually, shucks, I can't remember the question actually.
Oh, you can't remember the question? Okay, all right. Then sorry about that. The stream got dropped, and we've lost all of our viewers, but that's okay. We'll see this later. But this final speak here, Jeremy, you can hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you get a chance?
Yeah.
Or did you make your 20 minutes, Steve?
Yeah, I did in 6 minutes. I did 20 minutes in 6 minutes.
Nice. That's like sleeping faster.
Yeah, I find this one is even more balanced, I guess. Lesser mouthfeel, which makes sense. Like there's less solubles, and still the floral just persists.
It's interesting, hey? How I don't know. Like I feel like I can just keep making this tea over and over again. It reminds me a lot of that opportunity presented by a good oolong, for sure, which you had brought up a little bit earlier.
Yeah, and then I almost, in some ways, I'm getting a touch more like grass, like subtle grass, more now, just a little. But other than that, I think it's great.
Yeah, no, I can taste a little bit more grassiness for sure.
Same here.
On a final note here, super interested in the opportunity presented through the firing process. And I think that the leaves that I tasted even 2 years ago from this particular farm tasted different. One of them is definitely brewing parameters, but another is that they brought their leaves to a different facility for the finishing process. And that finishing process of anywhere from 95 to 105 degrees centigrade for anywhere from 8 to 12 minutes in a drum roaster that's specific for tea. It's an interesting part of the puzzle that we weren't aware of until about 4 or 5 years ago, just how much of a role that plays. And I think the grassy note that comes through in some of our Choto teas or like central Japanese teas is on purpose, is what I've learned, is that they really want to accentuate that floral element by leaving some of that grassiness. And when you go down further south, they actually increase the roast temperature and the steam, how long they steam it for, and it brings out more sugars and nutty flavors that are not in your Kyoto selections, but there's less of that floral note. So something from like takaki that you have on your like matcha that you get for takaki would taste different from say the Fujioka selections that you get from us. Anyway,
do they fire it for the same temperature?
They're going to change the temperature and the recipe for the finish firing process depending on the density of the leaf, the residual moisture, the year. There's lots of different reasons why they would change it. A lot of parallels to specialty coffee roasting for sure.
Cool.
Anyway, huge thank you, Jeremy and Sherri Ann. Really appreciate you guys coming on the show this week. We're looking forward to having Sherri Ann again next week. Jeremy, I know we've taken a lot out of your day, so big gratitude, and same to Sherri Ann. Big gratitude for you guys coming on the show. Hope you've enjoyed the tea.
Thank you for the tea. I love it.
Cool.
Love it.
Awesome. Now I was gonna get your final thoughts there. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, we love all your teas, but it's been fun to explore teas just like we do coffee, and I think all of us are like taste geeks, so we love to just try these kind of things always. So thank you.
No worries. Yeah, it's always fun to share with people who are interested in these flavor dynamics for sure, and even if it's not your industry, and in this case, I always feel like Sherri Ann's a good representative of, if you weren't in the industry particularly, but you just have an enjoyment of tea, what's possible. So I appreciate both of your perspectives very much. And next week we're going to have actually Andrew McWilliam from Ratio Coffee in Vernon. He's going to come on the show next week. We're going to be cupping the Tiguanyin Vanzi from Fujian province. So that should be an exciting show. And encourage you both to I know Sherri Ann will be tuning in, will be actually a part of it, but Jeremy, if you do find a moment to view it, or if you want to look at it later, I hope you do, and tell the world about it.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you
so
for having me.
All right, take care. Bye.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sherri Ann. And did you have anything final you wanted to say to the viewers before you go as well?
I just the teas really helped me a ton on a variety, and learning how to steep it at correct temperature, or at a temperature to bring proper flavors, has been actually pretty life changing. I'll be honest.
Awesome. That's really good to hear. We've really enjoyed I think going and sourcing this tea, and to have the opportunity to share it with you and to share it with Jeremy, and hopefully anybody else who also anybody watching that wants to go on our web store. The Sencha Zairaishu is available there under our reserve tea line that just got released. There's a Gyokuro, a Sencha 96 degrees centigrade that are also available. I encourage you to check them out. And we'll say goodbye to Sherri Ann for now. We'll see you again next week, Sherri Ann.
Thank you so much.
Okay, take care.
Okay. Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
And that leaves me. So, just going to switch cameras here. Give me a moment. I'll be right back. And so big gratitude for having Sister Seek and Jeremy on the show for sure. Before I go, I figured I should probably try that Margaret's Hope again, just this time brewed at 90 degrees C. See if that solves the problem that I was talking about. So I'm going to set my kettle to 90. Gonna grab another teapot. And I'm going to grab a decanter. Brew it the same way as I did, except that increase temperature. So 3 grams. And then, just barely enough, it looks like to me. $180 for 3 grams for 3 minutes. Another option that I have to bring out more flavor in that 80 degrees centigrade would be to do instead of just a hotter temperature, I could have gone to 3.5 minutes instead of 3 minutes for the brewing time. 3.5 minutes is a pretty standard brew time as well. I just find that most of the time first flushes 3 minutes releases less astringency. If this is still a weak tea when I'm done at 3 minutes, I would probably consider doing a I would consider doing just a slightly longer brew time. So we'll see what happens. But again, Margaret's Hope. This is a pretty famous estate out of Darjeeling in India. This is some of their 2020 selection, and we're going to see how this tastes before I say goodbye to y'all. Some interesting dialogue today, just talking about brewing parameters, different flavor opportunities, talking about making tea at home and accessing this kind of vessel transfer system. Talking about how elevation plays a major role in achieving desired temperature. Highly recommend, if you don't have a temperature variable kettle, it's pretty cheap and accessible to get yourself a thermometer, so at least you know the exact temperature that you're working with. A difference of 5 degrees centigrade is going to play a major role in extraction. So just knowing exactly what you're working with does do some good things. Okay, we're at a minute left before we say goodbye, after I'd finished drinking this. If you have any questions, if you want to add them to the chat, I could totally answer them now. Looks like we I'll gotta restart my chat room. Let's see what's happened here. Yeah, something's wrong with the chat room. So never mind that. Again, excited to have this tea because of COVID-19. India is in lockdown, so they're not even able to have couriers pick up tea from the tea farms to send around the world. So it's quite a big deal because all of these companies they're used to supplying aren't going to be getting their teas for a little bit here, including JagaSilk. Now, good news, bad news for JagaSilk is we're definitely a lot slower right now because of the pandemic, and therefore we're not in desperate need of the tea that we had otherwise ordered. It's actually a little bit of a godsend, but feeling for them in India. Okay, a lot nicer color. Get that last golden drop. You can see, I already showed you the leaves, but just if you want to take a look at that color, a lot richer looking. I can already tell just from the color alone that this is going to be a stronger cup. In terms of the dry aroma, again, malt. This is really smelling a lot more like what I'd expect out of a second flush. A lot nicer. Yeah, that really helps. Again, like second sip, I'm tasting pretty flat. Might just be that this is not the year for this estate for me. You know, again, everybody's going to taste different things. Your water's going to produce different flavors. your palate, what you've eaten, everything's going to affect your perception of flavor. Yeah, that's not necessarily a winner for me this time around. Anyhow, looking forward to seeing you again next week. This show went a little bit longer than last week. We'll see you, though, at 1 p.m.-ish on Thursday. We'll be guesting Andrew McWilliam from Ratio Coffee in Vernon. If you are in the Okanagan and you have a chance to visit his amazing establishment, you should. He's also doing some online sales with some of our teas on there as well that you can order. On that note, Monogram is as well. If you go on to Monogram Coffee's website and you click on the tea section, there's a whole bunch of Jaga Silk teas that you can add to your coffee order. If you're so inspired to do so, they do an amazing job with the coffees. Absolutely amazing. Sister Speak, we've been sponsoring them on their tours with our teas for a number of years now. If you want to check them out, go on to their YouTube, go on to their Instagram. But most of all, recently she's been really, Sister Speak has really been putting forward their Patreon account. Every Thursday at noon, she does a live performance, and she does another one on Saturday, I believe at 7 p.m. But you have to look at her Instagram to get the details on that. Some genuinely inspired performances. So go and support her, support Monogram, support Ratio if you can, and we appreciate your support very much by watching our stream. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Use the coupon code SISTERSPEAK to get 10% off of the Tiguan Yin if you would like to join us next week. Thank you so much.